Members, we have attained the quorum and it's just gone past 8:30. There are 6 items put forward by the administration. 5 were scheduled to be taken at the last meeting on the 29th of October, and the item 6 is a new item. Just a reminder that should members have any direct or indirect pecuniary interest in relation to the items today, please make the declaration regarding the nature of the interest under ROP 83A before taking the floor to speak, and under ROP 84 the voting procedures regarding conflict of interest. Well, let's move on to item 1, PWSC 2014-15 46 108 ET, 2 special schools at Sun On Street, Kwa Wan. Members invited to recommend to the Finance Committee the upgrading of 108 ET to Cat A, an estimated cost of $484 million. The government consulted the Education Panel on the 14th of April 2014, and supplementary information was given on 18th of June 2014. And all the discussion details are sent out in the paper. With us for these items are the officials from the Education Bureau and the Architectural Services Department. Mr. Young, Under Secretary, please. Chairman, we are proposing to build 2 special schools to reprovision the Centenary School and Choi Yan School. The Centenary School is a special school for students with moderate intellectual disability. It was built in 1978. It's 1,400 square meters worth of space. There are 9 classes. They have to use the special room for classes. Choi Yan is a special school for children with severe intellectual disability. It was built in 1962. There are 10 classes, and it covers 1,500 square meters. Because of the site constraint and also the facilities being lower than standard, and it is they are not able to deliver the quality of teaching expected of the modern day standard. So members are urged to support the program. We consulted the Kowloon City District Council, and members did not raise an objection. And in February 2014, we issued a questionnaire survey, and most of the respondents did not raise an objection or did not raise any comments. Now, there are comments that there may be noise problems, and they are concerned about the building of the 2 schools. Now, in the school building program and the design, we have assuaged all these concerns. As I said, on the 14th of April 2014, we consulted the Education Panel, and members were in support. With the funding available, work will get underway in June for completion in September 2017. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Under Secretary. I have Wong Kwok Heng, Fernando Cheung, Yip Kin Yun on the list, and Mr. Wong Kwok Heng. Chairman, I am in support of these good proposals. Now, these has been delayed for about 10 months. They are supposed to be endorsed in April last year. It is really late in coming. I urge members to support the funding for this proposal so that we can refer this to the Finance Committee. In the design, I am really interested in the use of solar power, the photovoltaic design, and I hope that this will be done in future buildings because they are really environmentally friendly. I've got 2 questions, though, for the administration. First, the barrier-free access for the schools will be covering the entire school. Will there be any gaps? Second, one of the schools is for the SID, children with severe intellectual disability. I am concerned that some of the students might bump into hard objects, and will there be any crash-proof facilities or design in the schools? Undersecretary, Chairman, the barrier-free access, these buildings will be in line with the requirements under the buildings ordinance. That they are special schools, and we have to have regard to the special needs of the students. We provide the ramps to facilitate the access of the students. Now, as regards the bumping problem, where possible, we will provide the cushion. But in the layout of the furniture and so on, now, these are special schools. I'm sure that they would have special arrangement in this regard. Mr. Wong, now will the ASD, in terms of the internal design, the corners and so on, and make sure that there would be a padded cushion to guard against any problems of children bumping into the corners, thus causing injuries, and the corners should be rounded in such a way that these children with severe intellectual disability will be well protected. Undersecretary, right, defer to the ASD, please. Mr. Leung, Chairman, yes, indeed, when we do the in-depth design, we will work with the sponsoring bodies, and they will have regard to the needs of the MOID and SID students, and we will bear this in mind in our in-depth design. Thank you very much, Director. Dr. Fernando Zhang and then Mr. Yip Kin Yuen. Chairman, thank you. Now, these two schools are in dire need for reprovisioning. Now, Chi Yan School in 2005-06, I took it up with the Education Bureau. I pointed out that this school is highly dangerous because students have to use a lot of stairs. 80% at least, 80% of the students there are wheelchair bound. So I'm concerned about the access problem. Unfortunately, the government has been dragging its feet for such a long time. These students are in dire need of the facilities, and it's been dragging on for so long. Now, there is another school that has to share the campus with another school. Now, for these special schools, there is a need for space, and the Education Bureau is not taking these forward. I'm not sure who is delaying the matter. That you have been delaying the matter for well over a decade. Now, we're not going to get in the way at all, except to say that in terms of the design, you have to discuss not only with the schools but also with the parents. We managed to get a school built for the physically disabled, but there was a 90-degree corner that the students would have to negotiate, and it is really inconceivable that the design can be so horrendous. I'm not really well up in the building plans myself. I don't think there are any problems, but I'd like to ask the administration whether you are using the universal design code and so on. I'm sure you are really familiar with this, a lot of students in these special schools are wheelchair bound. So are you going to put really great big massive staircase there for the students? ASD, Chairman, we will pay particular attention to these minor details. The access and the ramps are wider than those in conventional schools. Now, for those SID students, some of them are wheelchair bound, and they may need special facilities to help them get around. So the access, the passageways are wider than usual, and we are making sure that the students, the teachers can also accompany them in the lifts. Have you consulted the Parents Association? Yes, Chairman, we do maintain regular dialogue. Mr. Zhang, in Tuen Mun, the Puyoi School, this is a case in point. Just talk with the principals, but the parents are really astounded by the ultimate design. You have to talk to the parents as well, in addition to the principals. So please have a word with the parents on a regular basis. You have to maintain a regular dialogue with the PTA. So please consult the PTA as well. Director, will this be done? Or the Secretary? Chairman, if I may. In the light of previous experience in this design, we have asked the schools to maintain close dialogue with the PTAs. So we believe that in the reprovisioning exercise, we do have the input from the parents. It is important to have the direct input from the parents. They are the users. I'm mystified as to why the government is so ossified. Now, you are designing these for the users. Why don't you tap the opinion of the users? The schools would have their own considerations, and they are looking at the issues from the administrative point of view. The users can tell you what is practical and what is not. Many times, adjustment and refinement will have to be made, and this is wasting taxpayers' money. It is delaying the project. Nobody is going to get in the way. The parents will not. They've been waiting for so long. Under Secretary, will you do more of the same? Yes, indeed, Chairman. In the whole process, the ASD and the schools do maintain dialogues, and they will maintain dialogues with the parents. As to whether there is a need to get in touch with the parents direct, we will have a look at the input from the parents first.
I think we should all learn from the previous experience. Yip Kin Yun, and then followed by Tam Yu Chung. Mr. Yip Kin Yun. Mr. Chairman, for special schools, we know that many of them have to be re-provisioned or redeveloped, so we are watching them closely. We are glad to see that finally we got this project for the 2 special schools. I hope that the item will be endorsed ASAP. I have liaised with the school principals involved, and they all want to have the project implemented. For the school principals of the 2 schools, respectively, they have one common concern. And I would like to refer you to page 11 of the paper, and that's about energy conservation, green and recycled features. It is good to adopt a green perspective, but then it is something very new to the schools. For such innovative arrangements, schools have told me that they aren't too familiar with such features. So have you ever explained the method to them? Say, for example, the solar hot water system and the photovoltaic system. I just wondered if you can give a detailed explanation to the school authorities. They're also worried that they have to pick up the bill for the maintenance. And they're also worried that while they have savings from energy costs, they may have to incur expenditure in another form. And so they're quite worried about that. So first of all, please give us a response, and then after the meeting, please liaise with the two schools. Last week, I referred to the case of another school, and that is Malcolm Chan Memorial Primary School of the Tongwa Group of Hospitals. I think that school faces the same concern. So just wondered if you can explain the new energy features to the schools involved. So a question about energy conservation, green and recycled features. Would it be Mr. Leung, ASD, or Mr. Young? I'll try to answer the question to be supplemented by Mr. Leung from the ASD. For the green features, I don't think they are complicated to operate. In fact, such features are user-friendly features. You find them commonly in many buildings nowadays. So I don't think they are that difficult to operate. But as members have reflected the concerns of the schools, we are glad to approach the schools and explain to them about the approach, the mode of operation, etc. But I don't think it will pose any difficulties in terms of the operation. I don't actually think that it is exceptionally difficult to operate, but please brief them. What about the cost as well as the maintenance liability? Mr. Chairman, we don't have a breakdown about the cost of running the school. Every year we have a lump sum being granted to the schools. For such green features, they are getting more and more common in our schools. If, say, for example, there is a serious impact, then we will certainly make the adjustments. You will certainly make adjustments. That means you haven't incorporated that into the item now. I think basically the lump sum would have been sufficient to cover that. But of course, if we encounter any difficulties, we'll resolve the problem together with the schools. So in a nutshell, the schools don't have to worry about the expenditure. That is, the administration will be responsible for it. Undersecretary, as I said, we give a lump sum subvention. So I won't specify that out of that lump sum how much is to be used on this particular item. But of course, if schools encounter any problems with financing, we will be happy to talk to them. So in other words, the lump sum subvention would cover this expenditure item. I want to know whether the energy conservation feature will result in savings. I think you're right. It's up to members to decide whether you want to follow this up. Tamil Chong and then Christopher Chung. On the 22nd of October last year, I read this paper. There is 2 special schools at Shong On Street, Kwa Wan. I strongly supported the item. This is because for school children requiring facilities at special schools, they have a very keen demand, and it is all the better for the school to have a boarding section. I believe that the project will mean a major improvement. However, that was the 22nd of October. Today, it is the 4th of February. We still have to go to the FC. We don't know how many more months we have to wait. Just now, Fernando Joe referred to dragging the feet. He said that the filibustering originated from the government. At first, I thought filibustering was the monopoly of the pan-democrats. Now, I am surprised to hear that it is the government that is urging or telling others to filibuster as well. In any event, I hope that we can pass this item, we can endorse this item, and there won't be any obstruction at the stage of the FC. We were supposed to get it done on 22nd of October. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, I am speaking. There's no need for you to interrupt me. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, please let him finish. Mr. Tam. Do you observe the rules of procedures when another member is speaking? I hope that the project will be implemented ASAP, and I hope that those filibustering pan-democrats will stop filibuster. That's all I want to say. I would like to formally welcome Mr. Christopher Cheung for joining the PWSC today. Christopher Cheung and then Leung Kwok Hong. Mr. Cheung. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, in Shongon Street, Kwa Wan, there will be 2 special schools so as to reprovision 2 dilapidated schools in Kowloon City and Sam Shui Po, respectively. I welcome the move. This is the first time that I attend a PWSC meeting. I want to know why so many items are blocked. Yesterday, I was grilled by you when I tried to join the PWSC. Now, I would like to find an answer to my question, and that's why I would like to join the committee. Now, for the 2 schools, I don't think, despite the completion of the project in future, we are still not able to meet all the demand for special school places and boarding places. And what about the future of the 2 school premises? Is there any plan to turn them into special schools for children with intellectual disabilities so as to meet the demand? Under Secretary, according to our assessment, for children with SID, I believe that we're able to meet the demand. For children with MID, there will still be a shortfall. But of course, we will try to identify suitable sites in various places to build schools for them. For the vacated school premises, we'll see if they are amenable for other educational purposes before we decide on the future. Mr. Cheung, any follow-up? I'm happy with the answer. Next, Mr. Leung Kwok Hong and then Mr. Yip Kwok Him. Mr. Tam Yu Chung, if you are unhappy with what I am going to say, I allow you to interrupt me. First of all, you said that we were filibustering, and so we were not able to endorse the projects. Who's the most senior official here? The Undersecretary. You can name specific public officers. It's your privilege. Mr. Young, please tell CY Leung, please don't withdraw this item. Do you know it? I can't understand why an administration is making changes all the time. How come that within 2 weeks' time things change so rapidly? Are we living in a communist society? When you try to take away an item, you are happy with that. Today we haven't got Stephen Ho here. Now we were told that the fishermen might have to commit suicide because they had borrowed money, and if they don't get the assistance, they have to commit suicide. Now it seems that CY Leung isn't saying the same. I can give you 15 seconds to rebut me. This is not in line with our rules of procedure. Yes, I know. Mr. Yang, Undersecretary, in my constituency, there is one specific school begging you to give money to them to make improvements. Now, you have promised them that the school will eventually be reprovisioned. but then it is still on the drawing board for 4 years. Now, for this Go Fuk Yu school, they have been disappointed. Now, we have got many legislators representing NT-East. Elizabeth Court, are you aware of the school that I referred to? I'll give you 15 seconds to talk about that. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, please address the chair. Leung Kwok Hong, please address the chair. Has anyone from the DAB visited Go Fuk Yu school? Undersecretary, please tell us whether you have finalized the plan for Go Fuk Yu. Are we able to move the children there? Undersecretary, my understanding is that for this school called Go Fuk Yu, we know that they are waiting for improvements to their facilities. What is your answer? We have talked to them, and I think 2 floors have been given to them to use from the school building next door. Of course, when compared with a brand new school, of course there is a difference. But at least for the time being, facility-wise, they have been given assistance, and then their pressure has been eased. Thank you. But then they have physical disability, they have intellectual disability. So what about the access? Do they go underground, or have they got a footbridge? They haven't got sufficient classrooms. The school principal is in tears. Do you want them to petition you? They can come tomorrow. Undersecretary, I've already given an answer. In response to their requirements, we have given them more facilities. Did they approach you and ask you about the case of Go Fuk Yu School? Is it something which has some privacy implications? Undersecretary, many people have expressed their concerns about the case. I haven't made a record as to who came. I've told you that they haven't at all. Mr. Leung, if you want to speak again, please queue up again. You quote him and then Leung Yu Chung. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Leung Kwok Hong is breaking the rules all the time. Please handle it. I think he's challenging the rules of procedures. He's inviting others to interrupt. I'm grateful that you have been reminding him, but still we have to condemn his behavior. Now let me come back to the question. Now, a member was accusing the administration of filibustering. Now you are filibustering. You have become infamous, and the society is aware of the problem. As a result of the filibustering, we are not able to endorse anything. Now, I come to understand that eventually Pan-Democrats know that filibustering is causing harm to society, but then you have to bear the responsibility. Don't accuse the administration of filibustering. Now, just now, some members have complained that maybe when it comes to town planning and the drawing up of the plan of the school premises, you haven't consulted the stakeholders. I think you should have consulted the school authority when it comes to the design of the hardware. So please elaborate. What about the school sponsoring bodies? What do you make of their experience?
Paris 7, there is mention of the transport problem, traffic and transport. Now the students are going to schools by rehab buses. From the plan, there should be enough space for 3 coaches. Do you think it would be sufficient? Would the loading and unloading space be sufficient for the circulation of the rehab buses and the coaches? Undersecretary. Chairman, if I may take the questions in reverse order. there are 2 schools for the SID students. They are mostly living in the boarding facilities, so the need for movement would be smaller. For the MOID school, we are talking about reprovisioning. There are 3 school coaches. Mainly they are relying on public transport and the school coaches to get to and from schools. And they can also use taxis, and these would be enough to handle the day-to-day access issue. And there will not be any great problem with the traffic. Mr. Yip, the experience of the sponsoring body. Yes, Chairman. For these 2 schools, they have been managing these schools with a lot of experience, and they are fully aware of the facilities. Say, for instance, they will the students around the schools a lot, not the parents, so they are fully aware of the operational details and requirements. We are happy with an operation of these 2 schools, so we have full faith in them when it comes to the facilities. Mr. Yip, would they be liaising with the parents closely enough? The Secretary, yes, indeed, they maintain close relationship with the parents. Some of the parents are very concerned about the situation, and they may go to the schools almost daily or every other day. The schools are aware of their requirements. Mr. Leung Yu-chung, and then Dr. Kwokaki. Chairman, thank you. I think parents, sponsoring bodies, or anybody who is concerned about the development of these schools, they would be most gratified to hear that after years of waiting, the government has decided to reprovision these 2 schools. I think the criticism lies with the fact that the government has been delaying taking the decision regarding the reprovisioning. But today, we have this good piece of news that the schools will be reprovisioned. If I may put this to the Undersecretary, the paper is not sufficiently clear. Maybe I can hear from you direct. The Centenary School has 9 classes, Chi Yan 10 classes with 51 boarding places. I'm not sure whether I've got the statistics right. For the new school, so the MOID school, there will be an additional 70 places. Is it on top? Are they on top of the existing places? SID 64, MOID 70. As I said, SID 64, and also there is another number of 35. So how many more places than now? Originally, the boarding places, the number stood at 51. Now we have a number of 35. Are we talking about more boarding places or what? And also in terms of the waiting list, those who are waiting for boarding places, what is the number like at the present moment? Undersecretary, I defer to my colleagues. Mr. Kwong, Chairman, boarding places and school places, after the reprovisioning, there will be more classes. There will be 12 classes for both schools. So the number of school places will definitely go up. As members said a moment ago, Mr. Leung mentioned 70. Now we look at the figure from the planning point of view, in terms of supply and demand, if you merely look at the schools and the increase in the number, you can just do the subtraction and you get the increase, rate of increase. The same can be said about the boarding places. All you need to do is to take the number and do the subtraction. You get the increase. So 51 plus 35. That's the number of places. So we are going to have 86 altogether, an increase by 35. Is that my understanding, Mr. Kwong? Chairman, now in relation to the increase of places, now you can do the subtraction between the new number and the old number. Now you have 35 for SID school places, 51 boarding places for the old one. How can you do the subtraction? You're going to get the negative number. There will be less boarding places. 86. 35 plus 51. 86 boarding places. Under Secretary. Now, 35 is derived from the total number minus 51, and then you get 35. So I'm asking you whether it is on top of 51. Yes, indeed, there is an increase. Mr. Leung. Will there be an increase in school places? Now, you didn't tell us how many places. You merely talked about 9 classes and 10 classes. Now, 70 and 64. Now, how many more places, school places, do we have? Now, there is a keen demand. There is a keen demand for boarding places. If you increase the number of boarding places by 35, it is really on the low side. Now, there is a very, very great demand for boarding places and school places. 35 boarding places in terms of increase is minuscule. If I may refer you para 8 of the paper. Now for MOID school places, the demand will go up from 570 and 240 to 296 and 145 to 160. If you look at the supply and demand for SID and MOID in 2018-19, we should be able to meet the demand. For MOID, we still need to identify more places. Mr. Leung. So shouldn't there be a new school that is built that will provide more boarding places? There is a need for more boarding places. If there is a shortfall, I'm wondering whether you ought to identify a new site for a new school to be built with more boarding places. Under Secretary, can there be more places? Chairman, we have done the design, and we are constrained by the site coverage and also the site coverage. If we spot the need, the rising need for boarding places, definitely all these demand will be taken into account. Dr. Kwok and then Dr. Lo Wai Kwok. Chairman, I'm in support of this allocation. The Town Planning Board challenged the administration regarding the height restriction. I'd like to mount the same challenge that we're going to a lot of taxpayers' money. Now there is a shortfall of 279, 28 and 15 in terms of the places for MOID and SID respectively. In 2018-19, there will be a total of 300 or so MOID, SID students who will be turned away in 2018-19. I'm really disappointed. If the government is hanging on to the old standard, I'm not sure whether the chief executive is talking about this for real. He said that the plot ratio is going to be relaxed to accommodate more people because of the insufficient space. Now, with regard to this, we have looked at the design, and it is a low density, it is a low rise kind of design, couple of stories, and you're telling us that you have maxed out the plot ratio, and the 300 or so SID and MOID students will have to wait even longer. So if you talked about the plot ratio, would it be possible to add 1 or 2 stories and accommodate more of those on the waiting list? Is it impossible? Is it infeasible? I'd like to hear from the professionals. A couple of years ago, we went to Puiwai with Dr. Fernando Zhang. Now, this is a school costing millions and millions of dollars. The parents are really suffering a great deal, and this is still fresh in my memory. You have really given the parents a short shrift. Now, Chairman, a lot of the students are wheelchair bound, and the passageway is so narrow that when they get out on the passageway, they crash into the glass panel, and they have to negotiate a 90-degree bend, and more than 100 or close to 200 students had to be crammed in this narrow passageway, and you're not changing the design. And in the open space for the students to get out and about, there is a step there, and it is precarious for the students. The toilets, the bathrooms may look pretty good. They're green in design, but the wheelchair-bound people simply cannot get anywhere near the toilet. Now you're spending billions and billions of dollars, and the parents, the kids find it unable to use. Has the government learned the lesson? Let me put this again before you finalize the detailed design. Will you be sparing a thought for those who are suffering? There are parents, there are students who are waiting. Will you heed their request? Now, you are telling us a moment ago that the school will talk with the parents. The schools cannot have any say at all. They want to change anything decided by the ASD. Puiwai is a case in point. The government is not changing anything despite the request. They spend another $1 million to make the changes. They raise the funding themselves. But you cannot do anything you like, because without the approval of the ASD, you can't do a thing. The government is really stubborn in this regard. Under Secretary, Chairman, if I may talk about the ratio first. The plot ratio is normally low because we do need sufficient space, and the schools will be no more than 6 stories, because if we make it too high, it would cause some danger to the students.
For the 2 special schools, one is for children with SID, and therefore we have an even shorter building, just 3 stories, and then for wheelchair users, you can't really expect them to go up many floors. And then for the other school, for the MOID, it's only got 5 stories. So we do take into account the reaction of the neighbors. That is, if the building is too tall, maybe it will block the view of the neighbors. Now, for the reprovisioning project, we're talking about a 12-class school, and when it comes to the design, of course, we'll learn from our experience. We'll learn from we have learned a lesson. For this special project, as to whether we will be talking to the parents once again. As I have said, we'll consider this case, and we'll talk to the schools to find out to what extent we've accommodated this parents' feedback. I just wondered if the architects from the SD would meet with the parents? Do you have such a mechanism? Or are you saying that they are senior officials and they won't be condescending themselves to meet with the parents? To which department would you like to direct your question? SD is present. Give them the floor, please. Mr. Leung. Thank you for your comment. We'll be more than happy to talk to the school sponsoring body. If necessary, we're also happy to talk to parents. We'll certainly learn from the previous experience and we will learn the lesson from that case. Now, please honor your pledge. I will certainly hold you accountable. I will ask this question at the FC meeting. When are you going to convene a meeting between the SD and the end users like the parents? Dr. Lo Wai Kwok and then Wu Chi Wai. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For this item, of course, I'm fully behind it. This is because we want to resolve the problem of shortfall in the school places and boarding places for MOD and SID children. It is an urgent issue. Mr. Chairman, when compared with the paper submitted to us, I have seen an increase of $20 million in terms of the cost. In the past, the sum asked for was $464 million. Now the sum is $484 million. So by dragging our feet, it means that we are deferring the project and we are escalating the cost. Mr. Chairman, we must endorse the project. We strongly support the project, but we still have to go through the FC. I'm really worried that by blocking the item, this will be done at the expense of the school children as well as the cost. Mr. Chairman, for the school places for children with MYD, I understand that for the year 2018-19, the demand will be 840, the supply will be 570, so there will still be a shortfall of over 200. I understand that for special schools, you need a site and you need people to take care of the school children. So it doesn't mean that simply by getting a site we can meet the demand. How can we quickly meet the demand so that we can address the forecasted shortfall? Of course, it is not for the PWSC to talk about such policy issues, but still I have to express my concern. Now, here we are only given the projected demand and supply of school places in Kowloon and Tseung Kwan O region. There will be other figures for other regions. I don't have many other questions. I just appeal to members not to drag your feet when the project goes to the FC so that we can get it endorsed ASAP. Just now, you would like to know how the shortfalls can be addressed. Would you like to ask Mr. Young to answer the question? Yes, because we do have a shortfall soon. Mr. Young, yes, we'll be finding ways to increase the supply. Mr. Wu Chi Wai and then Mr. Chen Hanpeng. Thank you. Last time, Mr. Ling, Director of Planning, told us that public facilities aren't really bound by plot ratios. It's all a matter of whether there is a necessity. Now, I want to know why we are not doing more in this case so as to provide more school places. Now, the administration is giving us the excuse that it has to do with the surrounding area. Well, when you try to meet the demand, when you try to reduce the shortfall, would you agree with me that you should have the philosophy that you try as much as possible to balance the demand and supply so that you don't allow the shortfall to last? Now, if you follow my logic, it means that you should maximize your site. In this case, I just wondered if the Policy Bureau has ever considered the following, that is, increasing the number of school places at the two sites. I want to know whether you are worried that there will be implication in terms of the recurrent cost. I think we need to sort out this matter. I think the bureaus have been telling us that they will try their best to address the problem of school place shortfall. But then when you have a site, you are prevented from doing so because of constraints of various sorts, so that you don't try to maximize the site. Of course, I'm not expecting the shortfall to be addressed in total. Now we have got 3 stories and 5 stories respectively for the 2 schools. Now you say that there is such constraint. I'm sure you can increase the number of stories and then you can use the lifts to address the problem. I don't think you should allow such constraint to reduce the number of school places available, because that would mean that the queue for waiting will be longer and that there will be the shortfall. Undersecretary. Mr. Chairman, I think it's a matter of striking a balance. When we consider using the site to build the schools, the 2 schools have got their own needs and we have to consider their operation. If we are to have more places for the MYD school, we have to look at the number of stories available, etc. Yes, of course, in principle, you can use the lift, but then space for teaching will have to be sacrificed. Yes, you may very well be able to build a taller building, but then you have to find space on the lower floors to accommodate the lift shaft. When we designed the school building, in this case, we took into account various factors. Of course, we have to meet the shortfall, and we'll try to find this space elsewhere. Now, it seems that we are told that it won't be a good idea to use the lift, but then you have many wheelchair users. You need to accommodate the ramps. Won't that claim a lot on your space? Now, for the MYD school, the case is different. For the SID school, we use a lot of ramps. For the MYD school, of course, we do have lifts, but then we aren't talking about a majority being wheelchair users, and you can't rely on the lifts to do everything. Mr. Chen Hanfang. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, we want the school places and boarding places to be adequate. We have seen a delay of so much time. It was scheduled for discussion last year. Now, I've got a few questions here. First of all, for the figures. Now, for the SID school places, I think you have got more or less the same number of school places in shortfall. Now, for the year 2014-15, 8, 2015-16, 18, 18 for the following year, 18 for the following year, and 28 in the year 2018-19. Are we talking about the same 18 places in shortfall or additional shortfalls? Just now, other members have asked about the number of school places for the Centenary School. There are 17 more, and then for Chi Yun, there will be 60 boarding places. But what about the original number of places? And I want to know whether there will still be a shortfall upon completion of the project. Mr. Yang, I'll ask Mr. Kwong to explain. Now, regarding the increase in the number of shortfall places, please understand that we don't have children waiting for a place. It's not that they haven't got a place currently. It's a matter of assessing or projecting the demand and the supply. When we do the planning work, we have to look at the rate of growth in the past, and then we look at the projected population figures, and that's how we project the demand and supply. When it comes to supply, we are sort of talking about the design capacity. So you can imagine that maybe currently some schools are rather cramped, crowded, and that's not the most ideal situation, but still we are able to accommodate all the children. In the future, despite the growth in the shortfall, it isn't the case that some school children are denied a place. It's just that they are not being accommodated in ideal conditions. For the 9 classes in the Centenary School, how many school places are available? Can you give us the figure? Mr. Kwong, I suspect that you've got the figures in paragraph 9. That's about the additional school places. So the actual number of school places being added in terms of planning. The actual figures will depend on the actual demand and supply prevailing. For the Centenary School, currently they have got 74 students as of September 2014. For the second round, we have Mr. Leung Yu Chung. Mr. Chairman, well, parents of my constituency have always complained that there is a huge deficiency in terms of the number of boarding places. Now, for the SID boarding places, the shortfall is always 5 throughout the years in question. If it is really the case, I just wonder whether we can have 5 more boarding places instead of 86. To me, it appears to be something simple. If you simply add 5 more boarding places, then we can address the problem. Is it really that difficult? We are only talking about 5 boarding places.
Chairman, Para 8 talks about Kowloon and Zhangguanou, not territory-wide demand. Boarding places, with the increase of 35, there will be 180. There will be enough. Now, we're going to have 180 boarding places that will meet the demand arising from Kowloon and Zhangguanou. Mr. Leung, with the reprovisioning, there will not be any shortfall, is that right? Under Secretary? For SID places and boarding places, there will be enough. It is just for the MOID that there will be some shortfall. Mr. Leung, well, that will be very confusing. Now, you said there will be 5, 5, 5, 5, and 15 shortfall for SID boarding places. Can you be more specific with the reprovisioning of the schools? Will the shortfall still be 5, 5, 5, 5, and 15? Para 8 refers to March 2014. These 2 projects have not been approved, so the figures have not been built in. If you refer to the last table, the supply will increase from 145 to 180. That will be, but that won't happen until 16-17 or 17-18. So for 14-15 through to 16-17, there will still be a shortfall. Mr. Leung, if you can increase the number a little bit to meet the shortfall, that would be good. By the time this is completed, there will be 180. That would be sufficient. Is this a correct understanding, Under Secretary? All right, unless members have any further questions, I now put this to the vote. With those in favour, please raise their hands. All right. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the project is agreed by a majority of the members voting. The project is endorsed. Let's move on to item number 2, Head 708, Capital Subvention and Major Systems and Equipment, paper PWSC 47. Construction of an annex to Baptist Ming Choi Secondary School, Shatin, New Territories. This is to recommend the upgrading of 93EB to Cat A, an estimated cost of $148.8 million. On the 12th of May, the administration consulted the education panel, and members were in support of the project. All the details are set out in the paper before members. With us for this item are officials from the Education Bureau. Under Secretary, Chairman, we are proposing the building of an annex to the Ming Choi Secondary School to implement the NSS curriculum. Now, this was built in the 1970s, covering 4,900 square meters. There are 30 classes. It has only 25 classrooms, and they are adopting a floating class mode with the curriculum change. The special rooms will not be enough to meet the demand arising from the NSS curriculum. We are proposing a new annex so that there will be more room for the school to implement the NSS curriculum and improve the quality of education. I urge members to support it. As Chairman, we did consult the education panel, and in January 2014, we did consult the Shatin District Council, and members were in support. With or subject to the endorsement, we can get on with this in April this year for completion in January 2018. I want to thank you very much, Mr. Yip Kin Yuen, and then Mr. Wong Kwok Heng. Mr. Yip, Chairman, we are supportive of this project, except to put a couple of questions. Now, this school used to be substandard. Now we are bringing this up to standard. So that the floating class mode will become a thing of the past. And this expansion is really urgently needed. In 2009, approval has been granted, but the feasibility study, it took 4 years to complete. So there has been a delay in the expansion program. If everything goes smoothly, the first phase is expected to be completed in July 2017, and there will be 2 months away from the school, the opening of the school. Now, Principal One raised 2 questions for the administration. First, is there any way to speed up the project? Is there anything that can be done to expedite the project so that there would be more room, more space between the opening of the school and the completion? And there are still some minor works, some fitting out that still has to be done. Can they be brought forward in such a way that they will be able to use the new annex come September 2017? Under Secretary, Chairman, indeed, we will work with the school regarding the project. if we can bring this forward, we will not delay the matter. You talked about the progress of work and all the minute details. We will try to help as far as possible. Mr. Yip. Chairman, I mentioned the minor works, the fitting out. Is there any way they can be brought forward? They may be minor details, but I mean the important thing lies with the minor details. Under Secretary, well, it all depends on the progress of the project. Where possible, we can certainly do something about it. And I mean, fitting out work will take place subject to the condition, subject to the progress. In the course of the project, you will maintain regular contact with the school. Is that right? Yes, indeed. The school will be in operation in the course of the project. We will maintain close dialogue. Mr. Wong Kwa Heng and then Dr. Elizabeth Kwok. Mr. Wong. Chairman, I am in full support of this, and because of the filibustering acts, this has been delayed. I am concerned about the demolition of a janitor's quarter. If I may put this to the administration, for these janitors' quarters, they may have been living there. What arrangement will be put in place for them? Under Secretary. Mr. Lee, Chairman, right, the caretaker's quarter, the school must have the arrangement made. What arrangement? Can you be more specific? Are you aware of the details, Mr. Lee? Mr. Lee, well, I don't have the information with me, and I'm happy to supplement the information after the meeting. Mr. Wong, yes, I look forward to the information after the meeting, perhaps before the Finance Committee meeting. Dr. Elizabeth Kwok and then Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. Chairman, thank you. I am supportive of this project myself. The Shatin District Council in January last year endorsed this project, but there has been a lot of delay. And here we find this at the PWSC meeting, and we're going to go to the Finance Committee. I'm concerned how soon we're going to get this underway. Now, with the Finance Committee mired in filibustering, they may not be filibustering this project, but this will get stuck in the filibustering exercise anyway. So will there be any implications on the timetable and the course if the project will not get underway, will not get the funding as expected? How are you going to deal with it? Under Secretary. Chairman, well, it is really a tough question to answer. Now, we have presented the details to the PWSC and the FC as to how long the FC will need to deliberate this. It would be beyond our control. The sooner, the better, of course, as far as we are concerned. For these projects, we don't want to see any filibustering or any argument. So it would be hard for me to make the estimate. Now, this was expected to get underway in 2014 for completion in 2017 for the first phase, and for the whole project in 2019. And we have seen a rise of 4% in terms of cost. I mean, the longer we delay this, the higher the cost will be, depending on the situation. Dr. Kwok. Chairman, Mr. Ip, if you'd like to see this pass as soon as possible, I hope that you would urge your colleagues not to engage in filibustering at the Finance Committee. If I may put a question here, now in terms of greening, there are more green features there. First to fourth floor, there will be vertical greening features. And I heard from other projects that with vertical greening it would be hard to do the maintenance. It would be quite costly to maintain it. and they have the nurseries in the school campus for the students to do some planting. Now, in this exercise, would there be any plan to put in place some nurseries, and will the vertical greening be too costly for maintenance? Under Secretary, well, Chairman, the school does have a nursery of a small scale on the rooftop there. Dr. Kwok. In Shatin, Chairman, we do have quite a lot of schools that want to put in place a nursery. Now, there are some schools that simply cannot do it because of the structural problem. This may be small, but it's good enough. Now, when the new annex is built, will there be certain space and that will be set aside for a larger nursery? Now, on the rooftop, you have the landscaping. Now, this is not a nursery per se. So on the rooftop, will the students be allowed to get up there to do some studies, to do some planting and so on? Under Secretary. Chairman, in the new annex, on the roof, there will be a playground, and in the vicinity, there will be some green features. Will the students be allowed to get up there to do what the honourable member suggested? I would have a word with the school. Now, they are really in favour of greening, and I'm sure where possible they would consider that. Of course, they have to consider the safety element. Dr. Kwok. Yes, indeed, many schools probably did not consider the needs. They do not make use of the rooftop, and they cannot really have anything done there. I hope that this will be considered. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong and then Dr. Kwok. Mr. Undersecretary, I heard that this has taken you 4 years for the funding to come here. Now, why did it take 4 years? Was it because of objection of the school or what? Undersecretary. Chairman, from the conception through to the finalization, there are so many procedures to go through. Consultation, design, we have to engage the school and the parents. That this project is of a rather more complicated nature, because we have to get this done while the school is in operation. We have to demolish some of the structures and build another structure. Now, there is also another school in the vicinity. So in our discussion, it took quite a bit of time. Mr. Leung, well, you have the NSS curriculum, and the running out of classrooms, and the NSS curriculum has been in place for some time now. Is that right? Now, you knew full well that Ming Choi will get into trouble in terms of classrooms when the NSS is in place. And the other members didn't mention this. Eddie Ng doesn't get on with Cherry J, and she has been posted out, and there are problems with the officials. Now, when Eddie Ng is going to sack you, Eddie Ng is not from the education field. Cherry J is or was from the labor sector. Labor portfolio. Now, one of them has never done anything in relation to education. The other one was posted in here from the labor portfolio.
What about the pro-establishment camp? Have you ever given the administration any advice? So you are asking the blind to lead the way. So it is just impossible that we don't fall and get killed. It's been dragging on for 4 years, but it seems that no one has spoken up. Now, this is the first time that I joined the PWSC. In the past, they used to dominate, but today they are too lazy to come. Mr. Jiang, why has it taken 4 years? What is the problem? When did you know that the new senior secondary curriculum would affect the school? When was it? Or are you saying that at that time you weren't a public officer, undersecretary. Now, currently, the school has got 25 classrooms. Many years ago, they started to run 30 classes, relying on a floating class system. It depends on the school itself to decide on the number of classes, etc. But then, in the beginning, it was difficult to understand the implications. That's enough. I live in Kowloon Bay. It's a place for the poor. Now we got a new school. It's an international school, and the project went on very rapidly. Now for the poor, it has taken 4 years. For the rich, it is much quicker. And then you're telling lies, saying that we haven't got space, we haven't got land for schools. But then international schools are being built so rapidly, and what's worse is that they aren't for foreigners. So please explain. How come that there are people who have got too much food and they die from overfeeding while others die from starvation? And the Secretary, I don't think that this is directly related to the issue before us. Probably it's better to be taken up at a meeting of the education panel. Yes, Mr. Leung, you can consider that. Next, Mr. Lo Wai Kwok. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I speak in full support of this item. I also hope that this will be endorsed at today's PWSC meeting, and I also hope that it will soon be passed by the FC. Last year, I was the chair of the PWSC, and in fact, I also received an indication from the school authority. They told us that they were really very anxious to see that the item was not being processed at the during the previous session. They are waiting anxiously for the project. There will be a cost implication, and also, as it has been pointed out, it has affected their learning. Now, this is a school, quite a good school in Shatin, but then the school was built in 1978, 25 classrooms, 30 classes, 5 are floating classes. You know what it means. In other words, their students don't have a home room. In other words, they have to make use of the special rooms, art room, music room for the lessons. I think it is a very unsatisfactory scenario. In fact, the school premises is sort of a below standard school building. So by having the expansion, we can resolve the problem. I think that's the only way to provide improvement. Just now, members digressed a lot, talking about many other different schools. I don't think it is right to do so. I think what's important is that we should work for the well-being of the school. We should work for the development of the school, and that means we should quickly endorse the project. For the details of the project, I don't actually have much to say. Mr. Leung Chi-chung and then Dr. N. Jiang. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I fully support the project. Now, for the school premises involved, I think it is quite difficult to add a new annex to the site. Moreover, it is going to suffer from noise because it is sitting on Yunwo Road. I understand that noise barriers will be provided, double glazing, air conditioning, whatnot. My question is, for this item, I want to know, have you ever considered finding a site to reprovision the entire school, just like what we did in the first item? That is, find a new site, reprovision the school, so that there's no need to provide an annex to the existing building. Understand that for Shatin District Council, according to you, You've said that there is a general support. I think it's an odd way to make such a statement. Does it mean that some didn't favor the addition of an annex because it will just make the place even more crowded? Mr. Yang, we did talk to the school as to the various options to provide improvements. I think the current mode is a quicker way to do it, and I understand that the school itself would like to remain in Shatin. Therefore, the reprovisioning option isn't quite feasible. As to the consultation with the Shatin District Council, maybe Ms. Chong can comment on that. Yes, Ms. Chong. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We went to the Shatin District Council. District Council members were in support. I just want to add a point. Just now, Mr. Yang, the Undersecretary, referred to the option of reprovisioning. Now, it means that the school sponsoring body has to go through the school allocation mechanism. We won't be identifying a site specifically for a particular school. If we have a site available in Shatin, the school sponsoring body has to compete with other school sponsoring body, and they have to rely on the advantage of experience to get the right to run a school. Mr. Chairman, a lot of noise barriers are required. I don't think it's good for learning and teaching. Of course, it all boils down to your policy. But I'm sure reprovisioning should have been given serious consideration, and it should be better for the development of school. But of course, at such a stage, I'm not challenging your decision. However, I want to know whether you are going to do something to reduce the impacts on the learning and teaching. Mr. Chairman, I understand that there are already facilities being planned to reduce the noise, for example, along Junwo Road. As to whether the daily learning learning process will be affected. Yes, on important days like the examination period, we'll make sure that the construction won't generate noise affecting the school life. Dr. Jiang. Yes, a question for the Undersecretary. 30 classes in 25 classrooms. In other words, when the school was first designed, it was not conceived that there will be 30 classes. Now you're going to have 30 classrooms, so you can just fit 30 classes into 30 classrooms. Shatin's population is growing rapidly. I just wonder whether there is a need to reserve sufficient space for future growth, and then understand that you need to spend money on demolition. But then that's just for the caretakers' quarters. I think it will cost us a few $1 million to demolish the quarters, but then it won't cost a few $1 million to reprovision it, right? And then there will be 5 accessible toilets. Will they all be housed in the annex? What about the existing school building? Do you need 5? Do you need that many? Is it according to the planning standards and guidelines? That is, for a given number of students, you need a certain number of accessible toilets? Undersecretary. Mr. Chairman, for Shatin, we have got land earmarked for educational purposes. In due course, they will be made available, and of course it depends on the demand and supply of school places. For other items, maybe I would like to defer to Mr. Lee. Yes, on the question of accessible toilets. For the annex building, we are going to have 5 accessible toilets. As mentioned in the paper, it is a matter of re-provisioning. And then for the space vacated, it means that it will become the interface between the existing block and the new annex. For the 5 accessible toilets to be re-provisioned, we are going to adhere to the latest design standards, that is the Design 2008. For the existing block, you won't have any accessible toilets. For the accessible toilets, that's for the physically disabled, but you haven't got any in the existing block. So is it really for the convenience for those who are physically disabled? Well, it will be barrier-free between the new annex and the existing block. In other words, students who need to use the accessible toilet can go to one on each floor. Well, that's how you answered my question. But then what about my other question? Say, for example, in 2 years' time, or in a few years' time, they're going to have 2 more classes. Are you going to re-provision the entire school, or are you saying that on the same site you are able to accommodate 2 more classes? Mr. Chairman, as far as Shatin is concerned, I think in a few years' time, we won't be seeing the same happening again. There is an increase in the number of classes in the light of the secondary school student population. And it is also our prerogative to give permission to have more classes. And in fact, the population is dwindling. Shatin is the place where we've got the largest supply of housing land. So overall, the population may be falling for students, but then for Shatin, it may be the opposite. Dr. Kwa Wan, 3 questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, the caretakers' quarters. I hope you will make sure that the caretaker will still have a quarter there. And then the floor area. Understand that you have this planning target of providing 2 square meters of open space per student. I want to know whether this is being observed in Shatin and Hong Kong as a whole, or whether there is a shortfall. And then for the green features, nowadays many schools have a facility to deal with the kitchen waste. I want to know whether you can provide a facility of such a nature to the school so that they can be environmentally friendly. Now, many pro-establishment lawmakers are trying to make political gain out of this. I'm infuriated. Now, who is to be blamed to take out IT projects for school children so as to pave way for the discussion of the new Policy Bureau? I think we have to be clear as to who is the accomplice.
And the Secretary, the quarter for the caretaker, yes, indeed, this will be re-provided. We are merely talking about the construction period of 1 or 2 years. My colleague said there would be further information to be made available. Now, it is a must that the caretaker has to stay there. It's just that there would be some space for them to take a rest in. 2 square meters per student. It is the standard we have in place, and the school will be able to measure up to this requirement. Third question, the green features. or the environmental friendly facilities. I'm not sure whether they are going to put in place a food scrap machine. They don't have a lot of space there, as you can see from the plan. But we will have a word with them to see whether they're going to do it. Dr. Kwok, we have a representative from the EPD. If I may put a question here, can they liaise with the Education Bureau and the school? A lot of schools would like to have the solar energy ring collection device and food scrap machine. All these facilities would be important to instill the green concept in the younger generation. Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you very much for Dr. Kwok's question. We have been promoting these green ideas now through the Environmental Conservation Fund. We do support these kind of facilities. Now, in the new annex, there will be green features that will be provided as indicated in the paper. As regards the food scrap machine, if they do have the need and if they want this arrangement, we will welcome that. Now, this is in place in many schools. It will depend on the situation in schools and whether the compost materials can be used, and we will follow up with the school. Now, my impression is that this school is pretty in support of the green course. We can liaise with them further. Mr. Leung Kwa Hong. Well, Chairman, the paper doesn't lie. January 2014, you went to the Shatin District Council, and members were in general in support of this project. And in May 2014, last year, May 12, you consulted the education panel, and members were in support. Now, that's the situation. It's taken you quite a number of years before the paper finds its way here. Now, this was upgraded from Cat B to Cat A, and in the paper it says that you're upgrading this to Category A. Now, the paper also mentions the financial arrangement that has to be discussed with the school. I don't know what the pro-establishment members are talking about, whether they have read the paper. Now, let me put this to the Undersecretary. It all started in May 2014. You got the support of the education panel. Why does it take you so long to present this paper today? Anybody getting in the way? Who's getting in the way? Please tell me. Me getting in the way? I think you are spouting really untruth. Let it be fair. Who is getting in the way? Who is in charge? Or was Cherry J in charge of this? Now, she has been posted out of the Education Bureau. Has she taken with her all the files and in return? I'm putting this to you. Who is getting in the way? Undersecretary. Chairman. Last year, May, we consulted the education panel of the council, and in June, we presented the paper to the Legislative Council. From June through to today, at the ESC, PWSC, and FC, now we all know what happened in all these committees, so it's not for me to say or to comment who is really delaying the matter. Mr. Leung, did anybody tell you to lower the priority that you have been queuing up with the paper? And you're not saying that this is exceedingly urgent, that they are prioritizing the proposals. Let me put this to you. Did anybody tell you to lower the priority of this project? Well, Mr. Leung, I've allowed you to put a question in a reasonable way, but what you put a moment ago on to say has little to do with this project Head 708. Mr. Leung, Chairman, I thought that you were very quick on the uptake. Now, the Undersecretary said that we shouldn't be filibustering. Now, since he made this remark, I'd like to put this to him, and he refused to answer me. Cherry J's departure, has it got anything to do with this project? And you keep saying that we are filibustering. Produce the evidence on this particular project. Produce the evidence. And you have to give an account of yourself. How did filibustering affect this particular application? Is it because of the filibustering this has been put on further down on the list of priority? If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't say it. But since the board establishment members are talking about it, or they are not, I think the facts speak for themselves. Undersecretary, you care to respond? Chairman, I said that I don't want to see filibustering, but I didn't mention any particular member engaging in filibustering. I think it is for the members to decide. Everybody, including the officials, have to be accountable to the members of the public. Mr. Leung, now, this is being upgraded from Cat B to Cat A. Why did it take such an inordinately long time? Mr. Leung, I think you talk about two different time frames. You are talking about the time taken from Cat B to Cat A. It seems that you have shifted the argument to the time from last year to now. Yes, indeed. I was asking how long it took from Cat B to Cat A. Now you got the endorsement of the education panel, and you're only presenting this today. It's been 7 months. Now, why are you switching back and forth, Cat B, Cat A? Mr. Albert Chan, Chairman, I'm rather croaky today. Now, when was this project put on the agenda of the PWSC? I think we have to clarify this. We cannot allow the poor establishment members and the officials to smear members. Indeed, when they put this on the PWSC, I mean, in the course of putting this to the PWSC, there has been a delay for a couple of years. Now, when was this project first put on the PWSC agenda? We have to get this right first. Mr. Chen, I've handed down the verdict of 16 pages, and this project has been on the agenda for 8 to 9 months. I may not get it right. When I prepared my verdict, the government took away 12 projects, including this particular project. Chairman, so I think we have to get the record straight. If the government is saying that because of the filibustering, the project has been affected, I hope that they would retract what they said, because this allegation is wholly unfair and is wholly inaccurate. There is argument within the administration. We'd like to reprioritize the project, but the government took this out of the agenda. I think this is really manipulative on the part of the government. Schools and so on, we'd like to see them through as soon as possible. But if they want to I'll play along. Now you're trying to politicize this livelihood issue, and you're playing this up. Are you going to retract your allegation? Are you playing with us? Are you playing a trick with us? The official said that the filibustering affected the project. Will you tell us, in no uncertain terms, what this is all about? If you want to play the trick, I play along. Under Secretary, you care to respond to Mr. Chen? Chairman, if I may make some clarification, if I remember correctly, I did say that a member suggested that they're not sure how long it's going to take for this to get through the Finance Committee. I said that I hope that this will not be affected by filibustering, and talk about the future, not the past. Now, what happened in the past is playing for the members of the public. It's not for me to comment. I think the members of the public would come to their fair judgment. This remains our position. Mr. Chen, is there any indication that members will be filibustering this particular project? Is your concern on the basis of facts? It's no good for you to say that someone will rape somebody else. Now, policeman raped a young lady in the police station. You have to make factual statement. We never filibuster any school projects, and your allegation shows that you are really paranoid about filibustering. Are you going to retract your concern? You don't have any ground to make such allegation, and this is not something that we expect of a responsible government official. Mr. Chen, I think what you said is has been duly recorded. I heard from the Education Bureau official that he is not talking about this Project 93EB. Mr. Chen, if the Undersecretary refuses to retract his statement, I will move a motion to adjourn the meeting, the project. Undersecretary, well, Chairman, I've explained very clearly. I mentioned filibustering in response to one of the members who expressed concerns about the filibustering at the Finance Committee. And I said I don't want to see filibustering that would affect this project. I think here in this Council, we do have the intention of seeing this through as soon as possible. What I said, I don't think is incorrect. If Mr. Chen threatens to move an adjournment, if I don't retract the statement, then I've got nothing to do. Dr. Loy Kwok. Chairman, during the last term, last year's PWSC, we had 40-odd projects to be considered. We managed to get through about half of them. Now, this project was among the 40-odd projects that we considered, and there were projects that took a pretty long time, like the landfill, the incinerator, the artificial island of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. Now that affected, they had a knock-on effect on these other projects like the school projects, and they couldn't be considered last year. Now this is a fact. I think, Chairman, what is important is for us to endorse this project, and we hope that this will get through the Finance Committee as soon as possible. So I reiterate my support for this project, and I'd like to clarify that last year, talk about what happened at the PWSC meet last year.
Mr. Raymond Chen, if I may give a piece of advice to the Undersecretary. Some items have been affected by filibustering, but 93EB isn't one of them. In the future, it will go to the FC, but we are still not sure about the situation, because currently there's only one single item on the agenda of the FC. Now, if you say that you're worried that there may be filibustering on this project, then I think this is not yet substantiated. Maybe you can amend your comment to say that you're worried that there will be the blocking up of the agenda. So, Undersecretary, would you consider this advice? Mr. Jiang, I think Mr. Raymond Chan has come up with a very good idea. I have been listening to the debate of this item. I haven't heard the Undersecretary referring to anybody filibustering item 93EB. I don't think it was your intention, your meaning. No, Mr. Chairman, I didn't mean that. All right. If there aren't other questions, I will put the matter to the vote. Ms. Alice Mack, you pressed the button. Mr. Chairman, I was tuning in upstairs. I didn't intend to speak, but then I have heard that a member is trying to threaten the public officer. And if the officer is not to withdraw the remark, he will move a motion to suspend. Well, we know clearly what is being done. And now you are threatening the public officer. You are threatening that the discussion will be adjourned. Well, whoever is to be blamed, I think has been dragging on for so long. Now you think his remark is not pleasing to your ear, but I don't think you should adjourn the discussion. You are not being fair to the public, not doing justice to the public. I think it's the royalists who are protecting the administration for abusing its powers. So wealth gap is widening, poverty is worsening. I think the pro-establishment camp is allowing Mr. 689 to govern in this way. It is most absurd. We are doing what we are doing because the government is being unjust. Now, we have been told that the public projects are getting more and more costly, but then the express rail project has overrun its budget by $10 billion. You have to cough up the money. Now, the Undersecretary is politicizing the project. There wasn't much controversy. We were expecting a plain sailing. Now, the Undersecretary is mirroring the Pan-Democrats. You are distorting the facts. I don't think we should allow the executive to resort to such mean tactics, shift the attention and smear the Pan-Democrats. I think it is very mean for him to do so. Mr. Albert Chen, allow me to say a word here. I think we need to draw a line for such discussion. But then just now, I've allowed you to have 1 or 2 rounds of dialogue. This is because the question has been raised. If somebody has already made a remark, then to be fair, I allow the counterparty to say something in response. We've got 6 items on the agenda. We've only dealt with 1, and the second one is about to be voted on. I think the ongoing debate has got nothing to do directly with this item. I think enough is enough. So I won't allow further discussion of such a nature to go on. Paul Chair, Chen Kam Lam would also like to speak. I hope that the 2 of you won't speak in such a way that it will generate another round of unrelated debate. But I will still give the floor to the 2 of you. Paul Chair. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your reminder. And on the face of it, you are trying to lower the temperature, lower the heat, because I think we are on the brink. I think we are sort of having the ISIS beheading being transplanted to Hong Kong, because when something is not to your liking and then you try to threaten others, I think we are creating a very dangerous precedent. Maybe Mr. Albert Chen is not feeling well, and so his temper is not good, but I hope that we will lower the temperature here. lower the heat so that we won't become a place of terrorists. And I hope that no one will be offended by any remarks, and I hope that the project will be endorsed ASAP. Chen Kim-lam. Just now, a member was threatening a public officer. To be frank, I didn't speak at all because I was trying to see if he was serious about it. That is, whether he would be serious in trying to move a motion to suspend the deliberation. Because if you are really going to do it, it will be seen by everybody in front of the TV screen. You may claim that you are not filibustering. If you are true to your words, then refrain from filibustering. But what have you done? You are doing what you say you are not. No one can smear you if you are all clean. I think the facts are before all of us. Now, for this Ming Choi school, it is about the construction of a new annex. It is very simple. There is need for the facility. How come that we are getting a quarrel and we aren't having a debate about the project? We are arguing. We're having an argument on something else totally unrelated to the project. So, what do you call this style of deliberation? If it is not filibustering, what else is it? Because you're trying to sabotage. It isn't what we're used to. High efficiency and genuine deliberation, taking the matter seriously. So I can't help, and I have to press the button and try to speak. Of course, Chair, I hope this won't give rise to a few other members trying to speak again, because I am just telling you, I'm just speaking the facts, and I haven't criticized anybody. I hope that when the matter goes to the FC, no one would try to have it voted on separately, because that would have prolonged the time needed. We all need this item. For special schools, we really have to give them the money quickly. It was first raised in June last year. And what's the reason for the delay? I think everybody knows. Let's not debate on who's trying to make a political gain and who's filibustering. I think they are the facts that everybody can see for himself. Albert Chen, the two members were making allegations against me. They're smearing me and they are distorting the fact. Well, the whole thing arises out of the indiscriminate smearing of lawmakers by the public officers. They are trying to imply criticisms against us. Now the royalists are mixing up what's right and what's wrong. You are departing from the facts. You don't try to understand the matter on the basis of facts. I don't think the legislature can allow such despicable tactics. Now, Chen Kim-lam is echoing the CE, that is, watch the TV and see who's filibustering. But again, we should watch the broadcasting so that we can tell which public officer is politicizing the non-political or apolitical issues. The chair is trying to water down the issue, but two royalists are trying to further politicize the issue. Well, it was a simple funding request. It could have been endorsed without arguments. Now the royalists are supporting the administration in the use of such despicable technique. I won't do anything which is not right to do just because of anger. Procedural justice is important, and we have to restore the dignity that this legislature deserves. I'm not moving a motion to adjourn the discussion. It's not because I'm afraid of criticisms aimed at me. Now, the Undersecretary has already clarified the situation with the guidance or advice of the Chair. Barely, I find it acceptable. But I don't think the royalists should be resorting to suppressive tactics. We have to observe our code of behavior, and I don't think we should allow distortion indiscriminately. Now it is 10:26. In other words, we've only got less than 4 minutes time before the end of the meeting. Now, 2 other members would like to speak. Alice Mack for the second time, Michael Tian for the first time. I want to find out from the 2 lawmakers. I have just made a ruling. I have said that anything not directly related to this item should not be commented on. So are you both on the same? I won't allow the same debate to continue. Everybody has spoken their mind. Michael Tian, you're speaking for the first time. Can you promise to be brief in making your point? I am never worthy. I was naive and innocent. I've come with homework done on underground space. It appears to me that we can't even take up the matter concerning sewage. We still have another project on schools. Now, I sincerely urge members to quickly endorse this project so that we go over the third one as well, so that at least we can handle 4 schools. I would like to extend the meeting time by 15 minutes. Any objection? Mr. Michael Tian, I think if you allow Michael to speak, then I would regard that as the last speech for this item. Thank you. If members haven't got other questions, I'll put the matter to the vote. For those who are in favor, please raise your hand. For those who are against, please raise your hand. I think the majority of members who voted are in support of the item. The item has been endorsed. For the remaining 50 minutes, I believe that we can deal with item 3, which is PWSC 48, Head 703. Item 107 GT, a school for social development for schools at Choi Road, Kwun Tong, Kowloon. We are invited to recommend to FC the upgrading of the project to Cat A at an estimated cost of $373.7 million in money of the day prices. On the 14th of April 2014, the administration consulted the education panel, and on the 18th of June 2014, supplementary information was provided. In general, members are in support. In attendance, we have officers from the Education Bureau, the ASD, and the SWD. Mr. Young, Under Secretary, would you like to walk us through the paper briefly? Thank you. In light of the interest of time, I think the information is already in the paper, so I would rather give the time to members. No members have indicated the wish to ask questions. Would you like to brief us briefly?
Chairman, we are proposing to build in Kwun Tong Choi Hing Road a school for social development for girls. And this is for girls with moderate to severe behavioral and emotional difficulties, and for the implementation of the new senior secondary curriculum, and to increase the places. There are 18 classrooms and 250 boarding places. We consulted the Kwun Tong District Council in January last year, and they were in support. In April, we consulted the education panel, and members also were in support. Subject to the endorsement of the funding, this will get underway in June for completion in August 2017. Thank you. we have Sit Ho, Dr. Kwa Ki, Chairman. The shortfall of SSD schools was highlighted by the former Director of Audit, and the Education Bureau tried to cleanse those on the waiting list, and they asked those who have been on the waiting list, those who need the SSD to be taken out of the waiting list. Now, this is not the way to deal with this issue. I visited the School for Social Development, and the living condition is so cramped. It's just like if you think of the trains on the mainland in the old days, there are 4 beds in one cramped quarter, and each bed is merely segregated with a curtain. Now, we're talking about these behavioral children with behavioral and emotional difficulties, and they do need a lot of privacy. Now, what is the living condition there? We are only told about the number of bedrooms for the boarders, but will there be enough privacy for the children with behavioral and emotional problems to come down these accommodation? And the Secretary, well, there are 8 institutions, each with their own sitting rooms and bedrooms. Now, the bedrooms accommodate 2 to 8 people, and they have wardrobes separating the rooms, and they do have a certain degree of privacy. When girls are accommodated in these places, they go to smaller rooms, and they will have more privacy. But when they get older, they will go to larger rooms because they have to learn how to interact with other people. Ms. Sit-ho mentioned all these. We do pay attention to them. Ms. Sit-ho, when this goes to the Finance Committee, perhaps the design plan can be provided regarding the bedrooms, and we do want to have privacy for the children to calm themselves down in, and the libraries are leaving a lot to be decided. I hope that this will be followed up. Dr. Kwok, I support this project. In fact, I talked with one of the principals of a school for social development, and like Ms. Ho said, the demand for SSD has been suppressed, and the shortfall that we're looking at is not the real shortfall. If I may put this to the Undersecretary, is the government's intention to encourage more children to take full advantage of these schools? There is no mention of any warden or any resident places for the warden and the supervisors. I defer to Mr. Kwong. Mr. Kwong? Yes. Thank you, Chairman. Members asked about whether the demand has been suppressed. Now, this is not our intention. The idea to build this SDD is to meet the demand. We maintain close contact with the SDDs in Hong Kong. We hope that those in need would be able to have a place in these schools. The concerns are unwarranted. Dr. Kwok, what about the wardens, the residential arrangement for the wardens? I defer to the SWT. Mr. Chairman, thank you. With regard to the residential home, the warden and the support, we do have quarters for the wardens. Under the current arrangement, each institution will have at least one social worker there. After school, there will be social workers who are resident there on a 24-hour basis to provide support. Dr. Kwok. So there will be 8 places there. The social workers who are on duty overnight, they are professional social workers, aren't they? Yes, indeed. According to the service agreement, they have to be social workers who have undergone proper training. There has to be at least one social worker. That doesn't include other support staff like the workers. Dr. Low and then Mr. Michael Tin. According to the paper, we can only provide 180 places, so half of the demand in terms of SSD schools. This SDD school to be built at Choi Road will have my full support. I hope that this can get through the Finance Committee as soon as possible and see this completed as soon as possible. I noticed that as the site is located within 250 meters of the Jordan Valley landfill, and there is a need to conduct a test on the landfill gas. In the course of work and during the maintenance work, the impact arising from the landfill gas would be negligible or medium, and there will be proper procedures and proper monitoring of the situation. I would suggest that the department give us a brief report regarding the problem of landfill gas and the level and concentration, so that we would be made aware of an actual situation. And I don't suggest that this would be a subject for discussion, but it would be a good idea if a report can be made available to the committee. Well, can this be done? ASD? Yes, indeed, Chairman. Thank you. Mr. Michael Tin. Chairman, all these projects will cost us $1.4 billion. The tenders will come to an end by August this year. In other words, if we cannot get through the Finance Committee, we'll have to go back to square one, and instead of 1.4 billion, it may be more. Now, there is some price adjustment, like an additional $50 million. Now, that's the way you approve the tender. You are telling us that it is 1.4 billion today. You must have some idea that that would be on the basis of a certain time that the Finance Committee endorses the proposal. Now, when is the time that you have in mind for the projects to be endorsed? Now, if the Finance Committee doesn't endorse it until February and March, you will come back with a price adjustment. Now, the price adjustment has to do with the delay for 6 months. I don't think it has got anything to do with the tender price, because this will not come to an end until August. Okay, who's going to take the question? Someone raised his hand at the back. I'd like to maximize the time. ASD. Yes, Chairman. We use an MOD price for calculation. And we do have the planned commencement date, Mr. Tin. That the additional $50 million, has it got anything to do with the price adjustment? So presumably you must have some date on which this will be endorsed. If this is not endorsed on a certain date, there would be an additional cost, about 1% per month. So can you tell us when the Finance Committee is expected to endorse it? Director. Yes, we do have the plan regarding the commencement date. June 2015 will be the time. So in other words, if this is not approved in June 2015, you will come back with higher prices. Yes. All right, and any further questions? Unless members have any further questions, and I'll put this item to the vote. With those in favour, please raise their hands. Those against? I think the proposal is endorsed by majority of the members who were voting. The proposal is endorsed. We have 4 minutes, and I'm not prepared to start another project, except to say that we've endorsed the 3 projects. Nobody asked for separate voting. Date of next meeting, next Wednesday, 10th of February at 8:30 a.m. Thank you all very much for coming. Meeting adjourned.